Hello and welcome to the Shea Hates Everything Podcast, where we talk about video games, movies, comics, and other shit that matters. My name is Shea, and today I hate other drivers.
My name is Kyle, and today I hate when fast food joints don't update their menus so you order something that they are not serving.
So, actually on that, so I've been on this diet, right? This wife-enforced diet, and I thank her for it, because I've already lost a couple pounds. I've been feeling better, but this past week we were at the beach. We were on vacation, and so we kind of like laxed on the diet side. Like, I still wasn't drinking soda. I was drinking lots of water, but we weren't only eating healthy stuff. Like, we were still going out to eat. We got this amazing shrimp and bacon mac and cheese at this place.
Ooh.
Like, that literally changed my outlook on life and the meaning of it. But anyway, so I've been on this diet, and I came back. We're recording this on a Friday afternoon. I came back Thursday afternoon. My wife is not coming back until tomorrow, Saturday, which means I got like 2 bachelor days. So I've been not following the diet. And last night, when I was watching Thursday Night Football at like 10 p.m., I decided I was going to go to Taco Bell at halftime.
Hell yeah.
And so do you guys have, because they've been advertising it here in Atlanta, have you guys had commercials for the fried chicken quesadilla?
I don't watch TV, but I know of the fried chicken quesadilla, yes.
So I got the fried chicken quesadilla. It's not good.
I wouldn't think so.
And it made me sad because, like, I don't know, I'm not a huge fried chicken person, but I was there. And I was like, you know what? I could get my normal shit, or I could go and be a little adventurous on this Thursday evening when I'm, like, pretending that I'm single and staying at home in sweatpants. That tells you how good I would do in the single world getting Taco Bell. But it was bad, dude. It was not, like, the textures do not go together well.
Yeah.
Anyway, it made me think of the thing about fast food, because the Taco Bell near me never updates their menu, and so they have stuff that they don't currently have. And
right.
Like, the fried chicken quesadilla wasn't on their menu, and so I was like, hey, do you guys still have this? Which it makes it even worse.
Right.
Because that means I was thinking about
That's right,
it.
yeah.
It wasn't
this
even
is why I'm
like
here.
Advertising. Yes, exactly. So that was my Thursday night. So what have you been going on? I peek behind the curtain. I know your answer, and I'm asking because I'm really excited to talk about it.
So, my wedding next year, in October, it's going to be a medieval wedding. So we're like kind of going all out. Like, I'm going to be in a full suit of armor for the ceremony, and then I'll strip down to like my tunic and breeches and stuff and boots for the reception. We're going to get crowned by each of our fathers. So your and my dad is gonna crown me. I hope he's excited about the idea.
Yeah, I'm sure Dad will love that.
Yeah, and then my fiance Kara's father is gonna put her crown on at the end of the ceremony, and then we'll go to the reception. So her dress was an amount of money. That was a lot because like it needs to be lacy. Like, it needs to be fancier, and lace is still expensive even when it's coming out of a machine and not being handmade. I mean, it's like astronomically expensive when it's handmade, but it's still expensive coming out of a machine. So lace is still expensive in 2017, and her dress, I believe, I have not seen it obviously, but I believe has some lace and like little flower details and stuff like that to make it more floral, because she found this vintage veil that has the copper wire in it, and it's very lacy and flowery looking, and that's like a thing with medieval era weddings, is flowers and nature and all that stuff. So her dress was like $1,300, which is a lot of money for a dress.
That's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money for a dress.
It sure is. For something she'll wear one time, and then it'll sit in her mom's closet.
Yep. And so I was like, okay, my suit of armor, I can't go over $1,000 on this thing, because if she's doing $1,300 for a dress, like, we are very quickly cutting into the funds available that we have for the wedding. Not going over $1,000. So I start looking it up online. I'm like, hey, I can, and I go to this website, Dark Knight Armory, and I find everything I need, literally everything, because I have the sword and the belt to put the sword on and stuff. But all of the armor pieces, all of the clothes to go under it, the boots, a really cool ass helmet, and then the cap to go under the helmet so I don't like cut myself on it.
Sure.
Everything for like $850.
Nice.
Which, like that's not bad. Like everything's made out of steel, you know, and it's like it's not the nicest metal in the world, but.
And you purchased this, or this is to rent?
This is purchased, so I would own it for $850. Like the whole.
So now you have a
outfit.
suit of armor that will sit in your mom's closet after you wear it
No,
once.
sit in my closet.
Of course.
But like I would wear it to Renfest every year, like because I like to go to Renfest like twice a year. So I have my pirate captain outfit, and now I'll have like a suit of armor to wear, which is cool. And so a bunch of pieces of that, basically everything besides the helmet. The helmet's on back order for a couple months. Everything besides the helmet came today. So I immediately got home from work and like started putting stuff on, and very quickly realized there is almost none of it that I can put on by myself. I'm gonna need some help. But like I got the gauntlets on, and those are badass. It's like it's a leather glove, and it's not like chainmail. It's leather underneath, and then it has all the metal segmented parts along the fingers, so you can still bend your fingers and grip stuff. And actually, the mobility inside of it was surprisingly good. Like they designed it well, and it looks badass. So I tried those on. I got my what's it called? The like metal bib that you wear. It starts with a G. I can't remember the term, but it goes around your neck. It's like basically between your neck and your breastplate, and then it covers parts of like the small of your back, between your shoulder blades. So I got that. I put that on and like actually buckled it and made sure it fit. It's a little tight, but I think it's weird to say like it'll stretch out to fit because it's metal, but
the metal
will bend a little bit with because I have kind of a broad chest. You and I got that from our dad, so it just needs to bend out a little bit. And then like the breastplate, the full arm guards, the full leg guards, and the bracers and the tasset that I got, those are all still wrapped up, and they did a really nice job. Like they shipped it all in one box, which I was like, whatever, but they packaged it really nicely, and everything's been oiled so it won't rust. I'm guessing they just do that automatically for when it's in their warehouse. But it's all like oiled, which is nice.
Do you need to do that semi-regularly?
So
upkeep?
Yeah, basically what I'll do is every time I wear it, I will wipe off the oil, wear it, and then I'll have to re-oil it and then seal it back away in something when I'm not wearing it. Unless, like, I'm okay with it rusting in, like, 3 or 4 years, because it will totally do that. Which I'd prefer not to have that happen. But, like, the breeches fit really well. The boots fit perfectly. The gambeson, which is the padded short-sleeve jacket that goes on under everything, that fits pretty well, too. I'm, like, feeling real good about it. And my spalders on my shoulder, oh, man, those look cool. They all just look so fucking dope. Oh, man. And then, because I've been trying to find our family crest, the castle family crest, but I have not been able to find the official one, so I've just looked up basically what it looks like. And I'm thinking about finding someone who will just do an updated design of what I found on the internet, because I want to put it on a couple of tabards for a couple of my groomsmen to wear, like maybe you and like Dad if he wants to. So because if you don't know, a tabard it's like a shirt with no sleeves, so it just has the neck hole. Sometimes the front and back pieces aren't even connected.
It's kind of like like something the Pope would wear over his like tunic,
right?
Yeah,
over
it's
his
like
vestments.
it's the colored, embroidered,
right? Yeah. And so I found someone on Etsy who will make custom tabards for you,
sweet,
which is pretty cool. So I'll probably get a couple of those made for because you're gonna be my best man, and then Dad. So we're like the two castle men. Yeah. So it would make sense for you guys to have them. And on my tasset, which hangs from my belt, normally tassets are it's like your hip armor. You know how some of them can have like multiple links of stuff hanging off their hips, like their belt covering their like upper thighs and stuff.
Okay. Like a bat belt.
Sort of.
Batman's utility belt.
Yeah, sure.
It's got grenades, a water bottle, the grappling hook,
the holy hand grenade
fife.
of Antioch, and yeah, so like it hangs down a little bit. So I just got one tasset on my right side. It's in the shape of a shield, so I want to get that painted with the family crest that gets designed.
Okay.
And I think the art teacher at the high school I work at would probably do that for me because she likes me. So I just need to ask her about it. But yeah, so it's all coming together, and it looks so cool. Oh my God.
I'm still saying that I will, as the best man, I will be the jester. I'm still throwing that out.
Do you want to be? Because if you do,
I know you said you thought maybe you'd get
I might get
Cody to do that.
Yeah, Cody or my friend
or
Steven
your ring
someone.
bearer. What if you were gonna have a ring bearer dressed as a jester?
I really want Harry to be the ring bearer, but he's not good around other people.
Sure, he's not trained enough to like know what to do and follow directions.
Right. I mean, I feel like if I was calling his name, he would come over to me. But I
Yeah.
also like he's afraid of men, so I feel like he'd really bark at people, and it'd be an issue.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's like, oh man, because I wanted a full suit of armor, and it's not like those knight armor things that you see like in a museum where it's like.
Sure.
There are no openings or holes. This is stuff that, like, the insides won't be fully covered of my arms, and the backs of my legs won't be fully covered. My back won't be because it's just a breastplate, like that kind of stuff. It's not like link to link, zero space exposed kind of deal.
I'll say my sole experience with armor was when we shot our Dream Riders pilot, and then there was a scene, it's a long story, but the armor that I was wearing was what you're referencing, where it's all connected, and so it's like the arms are like a sleeve, it's not, leather ties that kind of cover the outside, it's like a full, and it wasn't fitted to me. We got the best fit that we could, but like certain areas were tighter than others, certain areas were like too loose, that thing, and I wore it for like a full day of shooting outside in the sun.
Sweating buckets.
Like watching the scene in the pilot, it was so totally worth it. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I love that scene. And the experience of doing it was cool, but man, that sucked ass. Especially with the other two guys that were in it, one of whom was dressed as like a Robin Hood-ish character. So he's wearing like a shorter skirt, a very flowy mesh top, and like a cap. And then the other guy was more of a like Crusader era knight, so he had a little bit of chainmail. He had like a chainmail hood, but other than that, he just had like he just had like some breeches, a flowy tunic, and then I'm in like this like 60 pounds of metal, and I'm the smallest dude. It was an experience.
It was hilarious,
a lot of fun
because you very clearly looked uncomfortable.
It played in the scene.
It was very method of you. Yeah,
absolutely.
It was good. I like that scene. But yeah, so it's not quite that. And it like So it'll still be really hot though, because that gambeson, I mean, it's like 1/4 inch thick, sometimes 1/3 of an inch thick at parts, because it's meant to protect you from the metal of the pieces you're wearing. So like that's really really hot, and it's like 100% cotton. So. It's a little itchy, but I'll have a long sleeve tunic on underneath it. But yeah, I am like, man, over the moon about that suit that I've got. It's so cool. Oh man,
it's so fun. We were talking because when we were at the beach, I was there with my wife, my mother-in-law, and sister-in-law, and I guess they didn't know about the concept of the wedding yet. Obviously, I'd been talking to Kelly about it, but her mom and sister didn't know about it, so we were telling them just a little bit about it, and they were like you see pictures of that kind of thing on Facebook of like a random Harry Potter wedding or like stuff like that, but like not very many people know someone that does something like that, and so they were like taken aback, like, wait, people actually would do that kind of thing?
Yeah.
And we were talking about it, and they were just like, this is so amazing, like that is so cool. And the bigger thing for me is it represents you and Kara so well.
Yeah.
Like it's your personality, and that's what that day is supposed to be 100%. Is all about you guys and your relationship and your future together. And it really spurred a lot of conversation with Kelly and I about our wedding. And like I wouldn't go back and change anything necessarily. I totally loved the venue. It was a place that there was zero chance we would have normally been able to afford, but they were like, hey, we'll give you a big discount if you get married in 4 months instead of 12.
Yeah, and it was
like,
beautiful.
yeah, okay, sure, we'll do that. But yeah, it was an amazing wedding. We got great pictures. Loved all the family and everybody was there. But that is something that we didn't really do. We didn't put a bunch of our personality in it, other than like the music and the way we did the food and that kind of stuff. But it didn't have, it was more formal than we are as people. And part of it for us was we were kind of the first of our group of friends to get married, because it's mostly Kelly's friends and they're all, you know, a year younger than me, some of them a little bit more. And none of them were married yet. And so we kind of did it first, and we didn't have anybody else to look for or ask for advice.
Right.
And so all of her friends, like she had a couple, a friend of hers from high school that got married 2 years ago now, I guess it was, maybe less than that, but like they got married, and they're at their reception. They did it at a brewery, and they had Chick-fil-A as the food. Like, it was so chill and very, very fun.
Yeah.
And that, like, again, like, I don't regret anything, but it is one of those where, like, part of me wishes maybe we would have made it a little more lax, a little bit more like us. So I'm really happy for you guys that you're, not only are you like impacting the style of the wedding with your personalities, but you're going like 110% in that direction.
Yeah.
For sure.
Which, like, you know me as as your brother, you know me. Like, when it comes to like, I will put 100%, 110% into the dumbest shit I possibly can. So yeah, that.
Well, and it's good because it's a unifying thing.
Yeah.
Like, it's an interest you both share. So it's not like, and not that I would want it anyway, but like for me, like a Star Wars themed wedding, I wouldn't do that. It's a little too nerdy for my tastes. But like Kelly, she doesn't care about Star Wars. She likes it because of how much I love it, but it doesn't mean anything to her. Like, this kind of medieval Renaissance style is something both of you are interested in and passionate about, so it's like, it's perfect for you to go that route.
Yeah, and like, it just came up as like a joke one day. We're just like, I'm gonna wear a suit of armor from the wedding, blah blah blah, and then the conversation just kind of progressed from there. And then it, like, the more that we talk about it and the more ideas we have, it becomes very clear that this is something we should totally do. So for better or for worse.
No, like, if nothing else, it's going to be so memorable for you guys, and like, you're going to have cool pictures and stuff to look back on, especially, you know, I know you and Kara don't want kids. If and when that ever changes, or when you're hanging out with my kids, like, that'll be fun to show them years from now.
Yeah.
Like, look at the crazy shit that Kyle and Kara
Uncle
did.
Kyle did. He's that weirdo.
Yeah. So that's cool though. I'm glad I enjoyed the pictures you sent me of the armor. I'm very excited to see you all decked out in that. It's gonna be great.
But like,
and you'll have to show me when we come there.
Yeah, totally. I'm all like jazzed about the armor and stuff. So like, I want to play D&D right now, but our campaign's over currently. So, but tonight I'm gonna go play more of that Cthulhu RPG that I talked about last podcast, I think, or maybe 2 podcasts ago.
Nice.
But yeah. How about you, man?
Well, so I mean, like I said, I was at the beach this past week, so I've been a little bit out of stuff. Like, I wasn't playing much or doing much other than sitting at the beach. I read a lot of Harry Potter sitting at the beach, and it was pretty amazing. Had a lot of good food, got a little bit of sun. I'm looking at my reflection, but because of the way the lighting is, I look like a ghost. So I think I'm a little darker than the light is making me seem. But yeah, it was just a very relaxing thing, and perfect timing too with all the stuff going on with work. It was nice to be able to get away and like not have to think about that. And so it's because I wanted to come back early and have a little bit of time to myself, and also South Park: The Fractured Butthole came out this week, and I wanted to play it. And because I'm going out of town, I leave on Sunday morning for a work trip, and I won't be getting back till late Tuesday. So that's like even more time I'm going to be gone. So I just kind of wanted to like take it down a notch, get away from some stuff, and it definitely served that purpose for sure. So feeling rejuvenated. I'm not super excited to get back to the grind of like working at a job that I'm leaving soon while also looking for another job.
Right.
Not super excited to get back to that, but a little bit of a break I think will help me not want to die. So instead of like doing it for like 3 months straight. So yeah. feeling refreshed, I guess you
Good.
could say. And I missed the fuck out of my dog too, man. I went and picked him up yesterday. My father-in-law was taking care of him and keeping him at our sister-in-law's place as well. And I went to pick him up yesterday when I got back, and I was just like, I forget that feeling of that unconditional love you get from an animal. Like, he was losing his mind when I got there. And it had been 5 days, but, like, he doesn't know what's going on.
Right.
Time doesn't pass the same way for him. Like, he could think, like, I'm never going to see them ever again. Every single day he wakes up and he doesn't see us.
Yeah.
Like, when I leave for work during the day, he might think he's never going to see me again. And it fills my heart with joy. And I was, like, a little bit, part of me was hoping that when I started talking about it, he would walk into the room, but I'm sure he's laying on the couch being a lazy bum right now.
Yeah, Harry
Per
is
usual.
currently- Harry likes to lay in the kitchen so he can see me at my desk through the reflection on the TV, but can also watch the door.
Nice.
So
Yeah, I made sure I closed all the shades because as the sun starts to go down, Beamer has a nice attitude of barking at everything, and his bark is like real deal bark.
right.
Whenever he like barks at someone, Kelly's always like, "Ooh, sexy Beamer." Like, this is a sexy bark because it's like manly. It's a manly
Yeah.
bark. He inherited my vocal cords.
Yeah.
So
you taught
anyway.
him how to project.
Enough bullshit. We got a lot of stuff we want to talk about today. So there was a discussion on recent Beastcast that you wanted to talk about. So lead us into that.
Yeah, and this has been kind of floating around everywhere because basically the discussion was revitalized. I mean, this is not a new discussion, but the discussion was revitalized when the new Middle-earth, was it Shadow of Mordor?
Shadow of War.
Shadow of War. Shadow of Mordor was the first one, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Shadow of War, the new one. There are loot boxes for, like, you get, like, orcs and stuff for your personal army with the loot boxes.
Right.
And there's this big whole hullabaloo about the end game is a super big grind and is really hard unless you are buying these loot boxes to, like, speed your way through it.
Mm-hmm.
So people were complaining about that. And it just started, like, this big discussion about loot boxes in general and, like, whether or not loot boxes are gambling. And that's like, that's a difficult discussion that I think a lot of people are currently having. And I think a couple of people are thinking about moving into the legal space with this and potentially legally classifying this type of microtransaction as gambling, which would make
That's
it
interesting.
illegal in certain countries and certain states and certain, so that would make it a really complicated thing for the industry.
Well, yeah, gambling in general it's always been a complicated issue because it varies state by state.
Yeah.
But especially, and even by county, I believe, within states. But part of it, too, because of, like, the proliferation of online gambling, especially, like, online poker.
Right.
There have been several huge, like, $1 million lawsuits about these poker companies manipulating things. And I don't know, like, it's crazy. We've been talking about the last couple of weeks, really, about the FCC stepping in about, you know, live streaming video games and, like, what's okay, what it constitutes fair use.
Yeah.
And this is just another example of, like, the internet being the Wild West. Like, because I look at this and say, you know, are loot boxes considered gambling? And I feel like it's really tricky because there are different forms of gambling.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at something like a slot machine where you put in a quarter, pull a thing, and then you get nothing or a lot or something, you have no idea, versus something like poker where there is an element of luck to it, but it is also very based on skill.
Sure.
And there's obviously no skill to pulling a slot machine, but you look at something like a loot box, and at least the ones that I'm thinking of, and I know with Shadow of War, you're going to get something. It's just what you're going to get. Like, there's no circumstance where you're going to pay $2.99 for a loot box and get nothing. And so that, to
Right.
me, makes it not gambling. And I don't know. I mean, I would need to think about it and really think about it. But, like, it's different than a slot machine. It's different than the lottery where it is, I mean, it is random, but where there's an inherent risk of getting nothing in return. You're at least still getting something. And so I'm not sure that I would consider it traditional gambling. What about you?
I don't think I would either. And especially like on platforms like Steam, where loot boxes tend to drop items that you can then resell within Steam's own market. So like you are actually like, there might be an argument to be made for consoles where you're getting digital goods, like you're not able to earn money back like some forms of gambling allow you to, but on like platforms like Steam, where that allows you to earn some money back if you didn't get anything meaningful from it, that it's all a gray area of differing shades, and it's a really difficult discussion. And I don't know how the hell you write laws on something like this without just being like, I don't know, without generalizing to the point of it either inconveniencing and affecting everybody or it being useless. Like, I don't know how you make legislation that works for this.
And to open a complete other can of worms, you talk about like digital goods, and that just goes into the whole conversation about like when you purchase a digital game, you don't own the game. You just own a license to play that game.
Right.
So if they decide to shut the servers down on, now everything is always online. If they decide to shut those servers down, you don't get to play the game anymore. You have no ownership over it. You have a license to play their IP. Like, it's scary fucking times. Like, with the death of physical goods, we're now completely putting our ownership into companies' hands. Like, we don't own stuff anymore.
Right.
We're just renting it from them for as long as they choose. And like that, all of that is buried in these user agreements and licensing agreements and
right.
all that
we
kind
all
of stuff.
click yes to, or we can't play it.
Yeah,
anyways.
without reading it. And I mean, like, we can go down so many different tangents of how all this stuff is fucked. Because, like, you're like, who's gonna read a 20-page user agreement when they log on to their iTunes account for the first time? But it has all this hidden shit in there, but also it's written in a way where a common person can't possibly understand it anyway, because it was written by a lawyer for the specific purpose of being open to interpretation and being able to manipulate that to support the company's needs. So, like, am I hiring a fucking lawyer so I can sign up for an iTunes account? It's just it's all fucked. We're all fucked. Everything's fucked.
I mean,
the internet was
wrong.
a mistake.
Well, no, humans were a mistake. The internet is
taking
beautiful.
it back to the root.
The internet was not a mistake. Giving the internet to humans was the mistake.
If humans were wrong and the internet was wrong, two wrongs make a right. Is there something there?
Everything is porn.
There isn't. Yes,
that's the right.
There you go. There's the silver lining. Porn. If it weren't for humans and it weren't for the internet, we wouldn't have porn.
That's
at
right.
least not in the traditional or in the modern sense. And what a terrible way life that would be. So let's move on. You have something else we were going to talk about before moving into what we've been doing.
Oh, yeah, I could just put that under what I've been watching. I'll just do that.
Okay. Well, how about you tell me what you've been watching
Okay. So I went and saw Blade Runner 2049, and it was mucho bueno. It was very good.
Just like as a standalone thing, or particularly as a sequel to Blade Runner?
Both. I think you could go into it without knowledge of the original Blade Runner and still enjoy it and like appreciate it for its artistry and its shots and like how it's like the composition of everything. Like that part of the original Blade Runner lives on in 2049. You know, like meticulously panning each shot to make sure it's shot perfectly and the shadows are perfect and everything's perfect. That part of that legacy still lives on. They use a lot of shadow still in this movie to, you know, imply and to hide things from the watcher. It's very, very good. And Harrison Ford did not overstay his welcome. I heard some people complaining about how much he was in the movie, but I didn't think he was in it. Like, he's only in, well, I don't even want to say that. I'll just say I did not feel like Harrison Ford overstayed his welcome, or like his character didn't matter and he was only in it just for a callback. Like there was some gravity to why he was there.
Yeah.
And
because I was confused, like, I don't see how someone would complain about there being too much Harrison Ford.
Right.
That seems impossible.
Yeah.
But if the character didn't mean anything, then absolutely he could be in there too much.
Yeah, there were. I saw online some people saying, "Oh, he's only in it because they want people to see the movie, and he's only in it as like a nod to fans of the original or whatever." But that's not the case. They weaved him into the story, I think, pretty artfully. But it's very, very, very good. That is a movie I would like to own. So
cool.
Hopefully they release some Blu-ray double pack or something. I'm sure they will, and I'll probably pick that up because I really, really liked it. I'm also about halfway through the first season of DC's Legends of Tomorrow.
Okay. Where are you watching that?
It is on Netflix.
Oh, interesting.
I don't know if there are multiple seasons. I did not even look into that. All I know is I'm like halfway through the first season on Netflix.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's in like season 3-ish. Okay. I haven't seen it.
It's not great.
Right. Have you seen Arrow or Flash?
So I like
the other DC shows.
I like Arrow. Arrow's also bad, but I like Arrow. Yeah. The Flash, none of the characters really meant anything to me. But like in watching DC Legends of Tomorrow, I came to realize that a couple of these characters are from that.
Okay.
And who else? Oh, the dude from Prison Break. The main dude from Prison Break is in it, and holy
he plays Heatwave, right?
Shit, he's bad. He plays like the opposite of Heatwave.
Oh, Captain Cold?
Captain Cold, yes.
Okay.
And then some other dude plays Heatwave. Holy shit, he's a bad actor. I've never seen Prison Break, and he's freaking terrible.
I didn't watch Prison Break, but I saw enough of it and like enough trailers and clips where I was like, yeah, this looks like a bad show.
He's bad. He's a bad actor. And the leading British guy is okay. He's a British dude that I think he badly wants to be David Tennant.
Rip Hunter, yeah?
Yes.
The time traveler?
Yeah, he's okay. I very much feel like he is a stand-in for a David Tennant archetype.
Okay.
And
what's his face plays the Atom, right? The dude who was Superman, Brandon Routh.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Because he's an Arrow as well.
Isn't he the main character? Yeah, that's where the character was introduced.
Yeah. Adam was introduced in Arrow, and I wouldn't say he's the main character. They all share screen time.
Okay.
Okay. But he's in it. I'm not a huge. He's at least charming, but he's not a great character.
Right.
But he's at least charming, I guess. And the Hawk Girl and Hawk Dude, whatever his name is.
Hawkman?
Is it actually Hawkman?
Yes, it's Hawkman. For a second, I thought you were serious and they had changed the name of the character to Hawk Dude.
No, I was guessing. I didn't want to say Hawkman.
It's the CW. Fucking anything's up for
that's fair.
Change now.
No, they did not. But they're in it because they also were in like a little crossover miniseries with the Arrow people.
Okay.
I don't think either of them are particularly good actors. Frankly, no one on the show is a good actor. I'm just gonna pull that out right now.
It's a CW show, man.
Yeah,
it's the CW.
Writing's pretty bad, and the special effects aren't super great. And honestly, I don't know why I'm watching it, but I'm over halfway through, so I may as well stick it out.
Such
I don't know what I'm
missed
doing.
Opportunities.
Yeah,
because that's what it was like for me with Arrow. I hadn't seen it, and everybody's talking about how much of a fan servicey kind of show it was, that it jumped the shark a little bit in like season 4 or whatever, but that I should stick through season 1, and then it gets, it's not good, but it's still fun the way that Smallville was fun.
Yeah.
And I just can't, dude. Stephen Amell, the dude that plays Oliver.
Yeah, he gives you nothing.
He's so boring.
He is.
He's so boring.
He is.
Man, it just it makes me angry. There are so many talented actors out there that don't get work.
Yeah.
And then these people are on these shows because they're good. They're hot.
Yep.
That's it. They're hot, and so they're on these shows. And on something like Legends of Tomorrow, it's people that have face recognition to get you interested in watching it.
Right.
It's bums me out.
Yeah.
I love the DC heroes so much, and both the TV universe and the film universe are just shitting all over the thing that I like.
Yeah. It's
sad.
Yeah, they're not good, but I'm watching it.
I just have too much other stuff.
Yeah.
Like, if I was bored, I totally
don't.
would stick through Arrow, but there's just too much other stuff that I want to watch.
Yeah, I was
and
in between
I'm
shows.
not going to do that anymore.
So I went ahead and started it just as like, hey, this is maybe something I could talk about on the podcast. And so my whole day off on Wednesday, I just watched that like first half of the season. I mean, I wasn't really enjoying it, but I laughed a couple times.
Okay.
There are a couple moments in 7 episodes. 45-minute episodes. Also, I guess the other thing I pushed back to this segment was Danny O'Dwyer's No Clip crowdfunded video game documentaries. They did a series on The Witcher, or CD Projekt Red, and those are some fantastically done videos. He asks. Danny has a penchant for asking the right questions to the right people, and it's edited well and shot well and gives you a lot of makes you feel like you know the developer by the end of them, and just it's really fascinating. I've always liked seeing games. He has like a lot of debug footage of Witcher 3, which is really cool, and like footage of the previous Witcher games, which I've never played. I played like 3 hours of Witcher 2 on Xbox 360, but that's it. So it was cool to go back and kind of get some more context to Witcher 3. It was really neat. And it was them sharing some of these fun things. Like there was this point at 0-0 on the coordinate plane in their open world. And every time they would hit this delete button, they would like Control Z or whatever to delete stuff or backspace. And turns out it was actually just moving the item to 0-0. And so they're like, we're hitting all these like performance drops in this area. Like, what's going on? Like, and there were like thousands upon thousands of deleted objects hanging out at 0-0, like whole houses and like towns and stuff, and NPCs and like mugs and everything. And so they obviously covered over all of that, and they put like this really cool looking tree in the middle of a forest at 0-0. And I think they might have even worked in like a secret quest thing there or something that kind of made it sound like. But it's cool little development stuff like that now if I were to go back and play the game, I could be like, oh, this is the 0-0 tree. Like, cool stuff like that. So it's fun. It's full of really nifty little nuggets of information about the Witcher series. So highly recommend anybody who's even remotely on the edge of interest towards the Witcher franchise to watch that. It's a No Clip YouTube channel.
All of his stuff is accessible, right, on YouTube. Like, because he's funding this through Patreon, but all of the videos you can watch for free on YouTube.
Yeah, all of the documentaries. Like, if you're a Patreon subscriber, you get all the behind the scenes stuff for No Clip.
Sure.
But like all of the main documentary videos, those are available for free on YouTube.
Sweet.
In terms of what I've been playing, I'm still playing Fallout 4 modded. I hit level 50 the other day. And I have
you've been playing it a lot.
I have almost 3 days on that game. I have like something like the upper 60s in hours. Yeah, I've been playing a lot of Fallout 4. And like I'm finding quests I've never found before. Like I never did the pirate ship quest. Like I never.
Oh man, that's one of the best ones.
Funny. Oh, it's so funny.
That quest is great.
Ooh, man, I had a good time with that. And like I'm still encountering quests that aren't modded quests either that I've never engaged with. So it's still fun.
Do you have any hot new mods?
No, but like Creator Club keeps putting stuff on sale, like armor and stuff. So I keep grabbing them like when they're free.
For free?
Yeah.
Nice.
So I have. In terms of what I got for free, I got the horse armor for free. I got the prey suit for free. I got the onyx paint, which gives you like stealth buffs. The chrome paint, which gives you energy resistance buffs, and the swamp camo paint. I can't remember what that one does, but it also has an effect. So I've gotten all those for free, and the only one I bought so far is the modular backpacks.
The backpack.
Yeah. So still playing Fallout 4. Cuphead, I have made it to Island 2, so I've beaten some more of the bosses there. That's still a really fantastic game that will probably be
Are those
on my Game of the Year list.
Are those set up like the Mario worlds? Like, for context, how far is Island 2?
Like 7. I've beaten like 7 bosses and like a run and gun level or 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've beaten like 2 run and
Like,
gun
are there
levels,
like 5
7
islands?
bosses.
Like, do you know?
I don't know how long it is. No, I'm not sure.
Interesting.
And I got Evil Within 2 on PS4, and it is so good. I mean, it's Shinji Mikami, the guy who did Resident Evil 4, so, like, of course I'm going to like it. But they just took everything they did in the first Evil Within and honed it down and fine-tuned it, and they've changed it from a very linear game to an open environment game. So there's, like, basically this hub town that you're running around in, and, like, the progress of... It feels like a Dark Souls game, and like the fun part of the Dark Souls games are exploring and learning the environments. For me, that's what was fun, was really learning enemy placement and environments and stuff. But at least in Evil Within 2, as you kill enemies, they're not coming back. Just every now and then there'll be an enemy like that isn't an area you've been, just to keep you on your toes. Not let your guard down. There was a time where I was just like sprinting from one end of the town to the other, like no care in the world, and then this giant group of like 5 dudes spilled out of a doorway, and I was like, oh fuck, like I cleared this building like an hour and a half ago. So that's fun. It's just like there's a lot going on in it. Like there's crafting, which there was crafting in the first game, but this, like, they really made the system more robust this time around, because you can like fully upgrade all your weapons, and like there's a skill tree with the green goo, and that's more expanded than I believe in the first one. You're still trying to find the statues and break them for the locker keys, where you go back to this area and you can open lockers that just have items for you, to like give you a little bonus, whatever, a little boost here and there. It's got a lot going on, and there are like these computers you can go and log into, and they take you to this separate area called the Marrow, which is like kind of an in-between area, because the whole STEM thing is like breaking apart, so that's kind of their excuse for these more, these bigger but kind of chunk-based areas. It's really, really cool, and it's super unsettling. There's this chick with a few heads, as you do, who's like 8.5 feet tall, and like limps around, but then like glitches forward really fast sometimes. And she'll show up, and her sign is that everything gets really cold, and like you can kind of hear her laughing, which is the worst thing in the world. And you're just like walking around the world exploring, and then like you start seeing Sebastian's breath, and he's like shivers, and like it gets cold, and then like you just like very slowly begin to hear like her laugh, and then like then she like appears around you. So like you're hiding in a bush, and she's just walking around you, and you just have to pick your moment to fucking make a break for it. And like you're running, like you're sprinting, and your stamina bar is precipitously draining, and she's like slowly coming after you. You're like, I'm making progress, and then she like glitches like 10 feet forward, and you're like, oh fuck, like I don't have the stamina for this shit. Oh, it's so good. It is so good. I'm like 5.5 hours in, and I feel like I've just cleared that first big chunk area, and I'm kind of about to go to someplace else. It's really good.
Did they fix the way like the weapons and ammo works? Because obviously I didn't play the first game, but I remember that being one of the large criticisms, that there wasn't nearly enough ammo, and so like you could completely just be screwed if you use your 3 shotgun shots, and then you're just kind of stuck in an area because you don't have any bullets.
So you have a finite amount of resources, right? So you can craft stuff back at a crafting bench, and it only takes half the resources it takes to craft that stuff out in the world if you were to craft it. So like a handgun bullet only takes 2 gunpowder at the bench, but it takes 4 out in the world. So if like emergency crafting, you can still make it, but you're going to use more resources. So you can screw yourself into a position where you don't have any ammo, but the game will... I progressed the story basically to a point where it seems like some of the item locations respawned items, and there are now areas that are lootable again. It doesn't really come out and say that to you, but there was a truck I had definitely looted before, and I did the story beat, and I came back to the area after leaving, and there was stuff there again. So it seems like, it seems like if you stick it out and you like struggle through a section or two, stuff will begin reappearing. It's probably still possible to screw yourself over. I mean, like, it's not an easy game, and the shooting doesn't feel great. But you can like spend skill points to reduce weapon sway and stuff like that. You know, that whole thing.
Okay.
To make the shooting a little better. But I mean, in the early parts of the game, you're very much learning enemy animations in terms of like trying to pull off those kill shots and stuff. And there are different things. You know, you find ammo pouches that increase your ammo capacity, carry capacity for stuff. But, like, I mean, you can blow through a lot of ammo just on, like, a few guys if you don't handle it properly. But, like, you can always, on regular enemies, and they will sometimes drop gunpowder and stuff when you kill them. On regular enemies, if you sneak attack them, you just kill them with your knife, and they will drop stuff.
And that's still a big part of the gameplay, is the stealth?
I wouldn't say it's vital, but it's super helpful because you use no resources. Like, I will, if there's a group of 3 dudes and I don't have any like shock bolts or whatever with my crossbow, I'll try to sneak up and stealth kill one of them while the other 2 begin their aggro sequence, and then I'll run away, and if I can't get away from them, I'll kill the other 2. If I can't, I'll go back and try and stealth kill them and stuff. So it's extending my playtime by doing that because I'm taking longer with each encounter.
Sure.
But I'm saving resources to the point where at no time do I feel like I don't have enough stuff to handle a bad situation. You know, I feel like I'm pretty well stocked. If I had to utilize everything in my arsenal, I feel like I could get through whatever the game throws at me right now. But
you don't find that tedious, though? Having to, like, backtrack and kind of cheese it a little bit?
I could see it getting tedious, but it's because it's all still scary. That, like, you're not letting your guard down while backtracking and doing all this stuff because stuff is still gonna possibly pop out at you and freak you out, you know? Or like there will be opportunities for new quests, side quests and stuff that pop up on your way back and forth. So, like, I'm not getting bored because it's not a huge area. Like, I can sprint from one end to the other in under a minute, but it's jam-packed with stuff. I mean, it's dense with things. In like hidden areas and nooks and crannies, and that stuff, they make it fun to seek that stuff out because getting supplies is really rewarding, because then you can go into an encounter and feel like a powerhouse for a second,
right?
And then you blow through it all and you feel like shit again. But like, Evil Within 2, that will definitely be on my Game of the Year list this year. It's
that's cool,
very good, and I feel like
I know you're looking forward to it.
Yeah, and the story in the first one was okay. It was a little generic, but this one I feel like they have more. It's less what the fuck mystery and more I want to find out and figure out what's going on kind of mystery, instead of just throwing balls to the wall crazy creepy shit at you all the time. This one feels like and your character, because he's seen this stuff before from the first game, he's like referencing stuff from the first game too in a way that the player is already referencing in their mind, and so that also helps your connection with the character and feel like you are Sebastian and Sebastian is you. And it's it's really good. Like, it's freaking me out in the middle of the day. I was playing it, bright sun, like glare on the screen, and I'm like screaming. It's really good. So
that's cool that they can, in a game, or just period at a game, but in something that is so interactive and put so much of the onus on the player to be exploring. It's cool. It's always cool to see horror games that can do that right, because when you put the power in the player's hands, you can't manipulate the timing of things as much as you normally would be able to in a movie, for example. So I definitely always appreciate companies that can go out and do that well, and I feel like for sure Shinji Mikami is somebody that has excelled at that for a long-ass time.
A very long time. So, enough about my life. What about yours?
Yeah, so just real quick, in addition to reading some HP at the beach, I also finally sat down and I brought along a couple of trades that I had because I was like, you know what? I have all these comics that are just sitting in my closet. I always burn out on comics and I get super into them and then I don't read them. So I brought a couple with me. I didn't read them all, but I read the mini series for Star Wars Han Solo. Did you read that? So the basic story is it takes place in between episodes 4 and 5.
Yeah.
And Han is effectively hired by the Rebel Alliance to go pick up a couple, like, confidential informant types. And as part of that, he gets entered into this crazy race with some other racers. And so he's picking up the CIs on the planets that they're supposed to land in the race. And that's just kind of the basic setup.
Yeah.
And I say that only to explain, like, the whole thing's, like, pretty standard. Like, I had a good time reading it. It's only 5 issues, I think. Mm-hmm. And it was, like, I enjoyed my time because I love the Han Solo character. Yeah. But, like, it didn't really do anything super special. And nothing about it was especially unpredictable or surprising. It was just kind of like I equate it to like a dumb summer popcorn flick in comic book form. But that, I mean, I'm not trying to take away a bunch from it because it was still a fun read, but I don't know. I found the Star Wars comics since the new canon was instituted to be super hit and miss, especially the miniseries. Like the Darth Vader ongoing has been really good.
That one has.
The Star Wars ongoing has been really good. But a lot of the miniseries, like the Princess Leia one wasn't great. The Lando one I did enjoy, but the Chewbacca one I thought was terrible. Yeah. And then now this Han Solo one I think is just like, it was okay. I do have the first trade of the Poe Dameron series and the first trade of the Dr. Aphra Solo series because she obviously was a character introduced in Darth Vader and now has her own spinoff. So I'm excited to look at those because I fucking love Poe Dameron from the movie and I really like the Doc Aphra character. So I'm excited to get into those, but more than anything, it was like yay, I read one of my comic books. And so I was glad because like we like to talk about comics on the show, but neither of us have stuck with comics enough where it's like a weekly thing. If I had more money, I wish that I could do a weekly review series of, the weekly issues I'm picking up, but I just am not consuming comics in that way right now, unfortunately.
Yeah, me neither.
Beyond that, I did finish the first episode of Life is Strange Beyond the Storm.
Okay.
I can happily report that it gets a lot better.
Oh, good. The
portion that I played was just Chloe, and it was very introductory to her and to the world, etc. And there wasn't really much story. But shortly after, because I obviously talked about this last episode, shortly after that, you're introduced to Rachel, who, if you remember from the first season, she's the chick that was missing. Yes. That was Chloe's friend, quote unquote, more than friends. Yeah. And so she becomes the main driver of the story, and her Chloe's relationship with Rachel is the primary thing in the back half of that first episode. And man, the dialogue and the character interactions get so much better once those two are together. It bummed me out even more that like the first half of it left such a bad taste and was so uninteresting. Obviously, the mechanical issues remain. The camera is still terrible. Yeah. The little mini game where you're insulting people is still really cheesy. A lot of the writing isn't particularly great. But those characters and their relationships feel very real. And despite it being angsty teenagers, there's that whole element of like growing up, and they're very confused because they're attracted to one another and they're both girls, so it's like this confusing sexuality that they're feeling, and they just met, so like all of that is handled really, really well.
Good.
I will say that like it does take another turn where Chloe starts having these, I guess it's kind of a minor spoiler for the first episode in terms of setup at least, but Chloe starts having these like dreams about her dad who's dead, and I'm not sure of the purpose of those yet. And it feels a little bit like without that time manipulation and murder mystery hook of the first season, this still feels like I'm not sure why I'm doing this. Like, I'm not sure what the point of this is.
Yeah.
Other than just the relationship between these two, which, again, is very good. But, like, there's not a ton driving me between episodes. Like, I'm not sure why. Like, there's nothing to hook me really into episode 2 the way that there were those huge cliffhangers almost between every episode in the first season.
Right.
So we'll see. Like, obviously, I'm in it enough to want to continue to see it through, and I'm glad it got better. But it's still one of those, like, I don't know. After that first announcement where I was like, oh, fuck yes, New Life is Strange, then learning it was a different developer, then learning it wasn't the same actor, then learning it wasn't going to have the same time manipulation mechanics, playing the first half where it's just like bad news after bad news after bad news. So, I don't know, still a bit of a sour taste in my mouth about this, but I think the second episode comes out relatively soon in the next couple of weeks or month or so, I will play it. Cool. Beyond that, obviously the big thing that I was playing is South Park Fractured But Whole. I actually just was playing it right before we recorded this, and we'll go back to playing it as soon as we finish recording this.
Do it.
I'm a little bummed because like I wanted to put a lot of time into it before coming into the podcast since it's a fresh release, but just because I was out of town and then I've had a bunch of crap I've had to do since I got back, I've only played for maybe an hour and a half so far, and I was a little worried that I would spend most of that hour and a half creating my character in the beginning, because that's kind of like how I play these sort of games.
Yeah.
Like I always think about when Kingdom Hearts first came out, I spent over an hour deciding, do I want to pick the staff, the sword, or the shield? And then it was even worse once you had to pick one to give up after that. Like that is still like one of the hardest video game decisions I've ever made. Designing my character, it always takes me fucking forever. Anyway, so I designed my character. He's cool. Like I want to play. It's tough because it's a non-speaking protagonist, similar to the first game. So like your character doesn't have a lot of quote unquote character. But I wanted to make this dude a little bit more like cool, because in the first game he was more of a nerd. At least my head canon. He was more of a nerd like me. So this guy, he's got like a little bit of a faux hawk. He's got like white frosted tips. Like he's a little cool. And so once you get to the point where you're picking your superpower, the three kind of categories up front, which I think expand as you continue and get new powers, but it's basically, it's speedster, it's tank, or it's like DPS where you shoot fireballs. Like it's those three tropes basically. And I went with like the DPS fire guy because his powers seemed really cool. And I will say, like, if you liked the first game, at least where I am now, I'm enjoying it a lot. The presentation is all still very good. I love the writing. All the little tiny things that, to me, are like, how did they fit all this shit in this game?
Right.
Like, all the names, just the names for the scrap that you find, the little flavor text that characters give, little icons that pop up when you accomplish something. Like, all of that is everything is unique every single time. And that's very rare in video games.
Yeah.
Like, making video games is fucking hard. And so they want to reuse as much stuff as possible. And I feel like Stick of Truth and now Fractured But Whole really buck that trend and make everything you're doing feel very unique.
Yeah.
It's still like all toilet humor, so take that for what it's worth. One of the side missions, it's not even really a mission, it's like little mini games you can take in every house you go in. You can take a shit, and it's a mini game where it's like QTEs basically to take a dump.
That's pretty
and you
good.
Get leveled rewards based on how well you do. But it's all that same kind of shtick, just with the superhero flavor instead of the fantasy flavor. But the way that it ties into the first game, I think, is very smart, and kind of how it's changing genres. I will also say that the combat feels improved. It's still, and granted, I'm very early on, but it's still easy. Like the first game was never a challenge. The only thing that was really hard was that Al Gore fight. And with this, like I've done maybe 5 or 6 battles so far, none of which I've gotten anywhere close to losing half of my health yet.
Okay.
I'm sure it will get more intense as things go.
I heard
but
it does,
it feels fairly easy at this point. I liked in the first game that you didn't have to grind. It was easy enough that you didn't have to just fight boring, turn-based fights over and over again to level up the way you typically would in a JRPG. Yeah. So I hope that remains true in this, because I would much rather a tight 20-hour experience than like a padded, grinding 35-hour experience. Sure. That's why I really loved Stick of Truth, and it was my game of the year that year. And the way that they've changed the combat to being the grid style tactic, it's not super deep. Like the grids are relatively small, at least in the terms of powers that I have right now. There's no like flanking mechanics or anything super deep about that, but it does add a nice new wrinkle. But it is very easy. It's a little bit rote right now. Like I only have a couple of powers. They look great to use. They're fun.
Yeah.
But there's nothing like particularly awesome about the combat, similar to how the first game.
Okay.
The biggest criticism I have of it thus far, which I feel like is pretty par for the course with RPGs, is there are just so many systems that they dump on you right away, and so many different tutorials. Like, you have all these crafting mechanics in here now, where you can make artifacts that make you stronger, that you... Like, in the first game, you found enhancements that you could put in your armor, or in your weapons that give them an additional buff or an elemental bonus, etc. Well, in this game, you do find those, but you can also craft them. And you can also craft consumables, and there's all the customization in your armor and appearance, and I don't know, there's just a lot of different things that are a lot of different systems that I'm trying to manage right now. And only being 90 minutes in, I'm a little overwhelmed already. But I feel pretty confident that, with a little more time in the game, it'll feel better. But if you enjoyed the first game, still definitely recommend it. And honestly, I'm looking forward to going and playing the first game again, because you get it for free with the purchase of this one. At least since I pre-ordered it, I got it. So I'm excited to go back and play the first game again after I beat this one.
Yeah, I haven't revisited that since I played it initially. Yeah. That'd be a fun one to go back to. Anything else?
Yes. So I haven't touched Destiny this week, but last week I did play some Iron Banner just because I was curious, and they had you got one of the powerful rewards for playing through the first season, whatever, couple of matches. So I did that. Nothing really felt different than typical PvP, except I was getting stomped every single time because I was constantly going against teams. So there's that.
Yeah.
But also, because I am kind of done with Destiny 2, except for like maybe occasionally checking in on weekends or if there's a big event, I did load up a YouTube video of the raid because I wanted to check it out and see what there was. And granted, the guy that I clicked through a couple of them because it's YouTubers and Twitch streamers, and so they're all fucking annoying as hell. So I had to find one where the dude wasn't incredibly annoying. But part of it is that I didn't know the guy, so I'm not invested in him. But I was bored after like watching them for an hour. They got to the bat, and I think, and you had said this, that it changes the order of things that you attack changes. Yeah. So in this one, they got to the baths, which they called it the baths. I don't even know what the hell that means.
Yeah, it's
in
the
bathhouse
context.
Yeah. But like they were banging their head against it for a little bit, and I was just like, like this just isn't interesting. I don't care about this. And granted, it's a video game. It's meant to be played, not watched. But that turned me off even more from like caring about getting to that end game content in Destiny 2. So,
yeah.
But yeah. I did want to talk about, because we touched on this last episode, and I've been thinking about it a little more because we didn't really dive into it, and I kind of want to, of the types of things that Bungie can and should add to make the daily Destiny experience better and make it more than something. Even for the hardcore players, there's no reason to play Destiny more than once a week, because every Tuesday you log in, you do the Nightfall, you do the raid, that's where you get your gear, and then you wait until the next week, you do it again, and that's that slow ramp up in progression.
Right.
So I wanted to find things that they could add for people like you and I to make like me a little bit more interested in playing on a regular basis. So I have 3 ideas. Let me know what you think of these, Kyle, and if there's anything else that jumps out. So the first one is based on that faction rallies that they did. And that, if people listening remember, it didn't add any new content, but it added new rewards for doing the same content. So you align yourself with one of 3 factions, and you do all your public events, your strikes, etc., and you get rep that you turn into them, where you can get specific faction shaders and armor and weapons. And at the end of the week, the particular faction that got the most tokens turned in got a special weapon. So I'm sure they're going to do this semi-regularly, and it's a cool way to, encourage people to come back. But I thought this would be a fun thing to add to PvP as well. Not that I want to play PvP, but that you could still have the same 3 factions, and you align yourself with that faction, and in matches, everyone on your team would be in. So if you go in New Monarchy, and you go and play Crucible, everybody on your team would be New Monarchy.
Yeah.
And you'd be versus an entire team of Future War Cult or Dead Orbit. And I feel like that's like more of that teamwork. Because like, Kyle, you and I played when we did the factions, but I aligned myself with New Monarchy and you aligned yourself with Dead Orbit, right?
No, I did New Monarchy.
Wrong? Okay, well, Cody did Dead Orbit.
Yeah, Cody did Dead Orbit.
And so like we were playing together, and it's still fun because we're friends and we're playing together, but we're not earning things together. We're earning things in disparate teams.
Right.
And so with this, like if you and I went New Monarchy, we could go play Crucible together, and we'd get teamed up with other people that were also New Monarchy, and we'd fight against Cody, who's Dead Orbit, with other Dead Orbit people. And I feel like that would add a little bit more to like the teamwork aspect of these factions that is lacking right now.
Yeah.
But again, I don't really want to play PvP. This is more of like me playing backseat designer, and like generally I think people might be interested in this.
Yeah.
I would not be. Also, and this is a lot of stuff that's specific to me because I don't care about playing the Nightfall so much, but more reason to play the regular content. So like strikes. There's no point in playing strikes. I quickly leveled past for the point where I was getting good gear from them. And even if you want rare gear to dismantle to get, gunsmith, whatever, there's so many better, faster ways of doing it. Like there is literally no reason to play strikes unless you just like the strikes, which I do. But I want a reward for that.
Sure.
So even if they were going to like up the drop rates or like guarantee a legendary engram at the end of every strike, something that makes them worth playing and things that are more worth repeatably playing. So like the Lost Sectors, those were a cool thing they added to this in the beginning where it was fun to go in with friends and beat a little mini boss and get some gear. But again, none of that gear means anything anymore because it's mostly rare shit.
Yeah.
And so a way I thought that would make it at least a little more engaging is if they did something procedurally generated, which like I know isn't as easy as clicking the procedurally generate box. They have to design it for that. But just thinking of other games that have repeatable content like a Diablo, and like that's what this game is. It's a loot game like Diablo. So give us make every time I play it, it should be new. It shouldn't be the same freaking thing over and over and over. That was a huge criticism of Destiny 1 that they addressed a little bit with some of the strikes. Like they changed where enemies would be, the types of enemies, that sort of thing. But I think they can take it a step farther and make it more procedurally generated. And this is more for like a big future DLC release because this is obviously a big change. But like, I don't know, let me load into a new area that's procedurally generated with a specific type of enemy on a specific planet with a specific goal other than just kill dudes and hold square. I don't know. That's very general, but that would add a lot of interest to me and make me want to play it regularly versus just grinding out the same public event 6 times unnecessary.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
So that's where I am. That's where I am on Destiny content. Again, there's nothing in there right now to like keep me hooked and keep me coming back. I want it to because the game feels great to play. Yeah. And there's a lot of really good stuff in there. It's just the grind isn't fun and the content that you need to do isn't content that I want to do or have the friends list to be able to do. So I'm kind of done with Destiny 2 for the foreseeable future, unfortunately.
Welcome to the club, man.
Yeah, and I know like we're not alone in that. I'm seeing a lot of talk online too of even the hardcore people just being like, all right, I'm at 305. I've beaten the raid a bunch. Now what? Like there's nothing to do. There's no more new stuff you can get. There are no hidden exotics, at least that people have found. There's not nearly as much mystery as even was in the first game. And there wasn't even enough in the first game. So it is what it is. I still got plenty of hours out of it.
Yeah, same here.
But final thing before we jump into news that I wanted to talk about. So we're in the meat of game release season now, towards the end of October, and obviously, we talked about Evil Within 2, and South Park just recently came out. Shadow of War just recently came out. But on the horizon, there are 3 other big games, and all of them I'm like, about. So obviously there's Shadow of War, which just came out. Assassin's Creed comes out this month. Call of Duty World War II comes out next month, and Star Wars Battlefront comes out. And all of them, I'm just like none of them feel like must plays to me. I obviously am very interested in Star Wars Battlefront 2. I have some reservations about it, specifically about EA, which we'll get into in a little bit, about continually supporting their decisions with my money. But as a game, like, I want to play the single player mode, but I know I'm not going to play the multiplayer for very long. Despite the fact that it's Star Wars, even if it's good, I just don't like multiplayer shooters. And I feel the same fucking way about Call of Duty World War II. I would play the single player. I'd play it with you.
Well, yeah, because there is a separate co-op experience.
Yeah, and I'm sure that would be fun for us to play too. And I would play the multiplayer with you. But it's like, to spend $60 on one of those games where I'm gonna get like a 5-hour single player experience or co-op experience, and then dump some time into the multiplayer that I'm only gonna partially enjoy. It's just not really what I'm looking for. And then you have games like Assassin's Creed, which I'm burnt out on that series. Middle-earth, which that first game didn't grab me anyway. It's that like generic open world type game that I'm typically not into. Something like Horizon Zero Dawn is the exception to the rule for me with those types of games. There just aren't that many narrative-driven experiences, which in a AAA game, that's what I want. In a smaller indie title, I want some more experimental stuff, but I like playing games by myself. I like it being escapism. I like getting a story with characters I care about and fun gameplay. I don't want to play a multiplayer game. I don't want this fucking games as a service thing, etc. So I know, Kyle, you're getting World War II. I know you're also getting Battlefront 2. What should I buy?
So how about I make this slightly easier for you, and I just buy you Call of Duty for Christmas?
Well, that's an even like bigger cheat because I'm coming up there to celebrate our Christmas on Thanksgiving because Kelly and I, we trade off when we go up to Ohio/Indiana. So I'll be there at Thanksgiving. So my Christmas will be a month early. So that means we could play Call of Duty together.
I know. For a while. That's what I'm saying, man. That's what I'm saying.
Tell me more about the beta. We talked about this last episode, but especially like the multiplayer. Like, how does it compare to other Call of Duty games?
So, like with the beta, I had a really good time with it. Like I played, like I said, probably like 20 matches or something like that.
Yeah.
Somewhere in that vein. And I maybe lost like 2 or 3 times, and I always had over a 2.0 KD, which was always my goal.
I'm not asking how great you were at the beta. Tell me about the gameplay of the beta. Like, how does it compare? Is it obviously because it's World War II? There's no like jetpacks and shit like there have been in the recent games. But does it feel more like the COD 4 Modern Warfare 2 style?
Yes, because it feels like each map feels very distinctive. Because I played like 2 or 3 different maps, and they feel very different. And it almost, because in those like Call of Duty games, you're not. Sometimes it felt like you were playing against the map, like for Modern Warfare 2 or Modern Warfare 3. Sometimes it felt like you are playing the map, not necessarily the other team. Like you come up with a flow that you personally have for a map. Right, so if they're pushing hard this side, you know to go around this side, and you develop your own strategies. Whereas in the newer Call of Duties, with the more modern technology and weapons and stuff, I felt like, or more futuristic rather, I felt like, especially with the implementation of like that movement system, like wall running and stuff, I felt like I never had a good handle on the space. Like I never had a good handle on where people were, and I didn't feel connected to the maps. Like they weren't interesting. And so you don't take the time, like they don't imprint on your brain as well as, like I could still draw you layouts from Modern Warfare 2's maps. Like I could still draw like
Yeah.
routes and stuff. And this one, like, I only played 20 matches across like 3 or 4 maps maybe total, but I could give you a pretty good approximation of what those maps are like and how the general flow of bodies was, and like the back and forth on that stuff, and like the map circuits, and they were just interesting. Like there was one of them that was like a D-Day beachhead bunker with the trenches and stuff in between, and like so there's kind of a circular area you can go around, and there are all these entrances into the middle, like kind of no man's landy middle portion, and like a lot of tight windows for sniping. If you're really good, you can nail those shots in those tight windows, and a lot of close quarters options and some good mid-range spots. Like there's something in those maps for everyone, for every style of play. There are good spaces for those. I just like those maps. They feel more personable and more memorable, and like they have their own personality and tone when you jump into them, in a way that the more recent Call of Duties felt really generic and stale. Right. These feel like they're throwing a lot more interesting elements into them. Like Rust, you had like the Sandstorm Rust and stuff like that, and that was a really tight map. And then can't remember from Modern Warfare 2, what was the one where it was like that. It was Middle Eastern map, and there's like the rusted out vehicles and stuff, and there's like the mountain you could go under in part of it, and there's a couple bunkers. There's a grassy area with like tall grass you could lay in.
Yeah, I know which one you're
face.
thinking of, because when we talked about Modern Warfare 2, that was the first map that jumped into my head as well.
And
I don't remember the name of it, but yes.
And, like there's all this like scene setting stuff. Like there's gunfire going on in the background constantly. There's stuff happening around the map that like make it dynamic and interesting, and there's a lot more of that in these maps. It just feels like they spent more time on them, and they got more creative with them again. Like it feels like they kind of rejuvenated their creative juices by jumping back a couple eras of war. So it feels really good. It's a solid Call of Duty shooter, and the guns are familiar, but there are some new additions to the World War II arsenal, and it has that flow. And maybe it's because I've sat the last several out in terms of multiplayer,
right,
that I'm just ready to go back in. Maybe some of this is coming from that angle of it, but I just feel like I'm ready to go back into it.
Yeah, that's definitely part of it for me too. And honestly, the World War II setting is a big piece of it, because like after Modern Warfare 3, that's when I was kind of like, I think I'm done with Call of Duty. Like, I didn't really have that much fun with Modern Warfare 3. I still bought Black Ops 2, but I played it. I think Black Ops 2 came out before or after Modern Warfare 3. I don't remember the cadence anymore. But I got Black Ops 2 or 3, whichever one it was, and played for like a week and was like, yeah, I'm done. Peace out.
Yeah.
And then, like, I had zero interest in Ghosts or Advanced Warfare or Infinite Warfare or Internet Warfare, social media warfare, whatever the fucking warfare games there were. Like, I've had zero interest in playing those. I would like to play the single player, to be fair. Like, the spectacle is always fun. But in terms of, like, actually buying it in November when it comes out and playing it, no way. But with this one, there is a little part of me that's like, yeah, I kind of want to get back to this because it feels more aligned to the Call of Duty that I enjoyed back in the day.
Yeah.
So, if you're going to buy it for me, I'm not going to say no.
I hope you don't mind just knowing your Christmas present via podcast.
Yeah, I think I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm an adult. I don't need surprises.
Well, and you know what? The gift isn't just Call of Duty. The gift is playing games with your bro.
There you go. Absolutely. Best gift you can get. But part of my thing is like, and that's cool. I'm excited for that as well. But the bigger thing is like these 4. I feel like these are the 4 big releases for the rest of the year. Like Wolfenstein comes out. What's it called? What's that racing game that's coming out?
Need for Speed.
Need for Speed. Like there are other games that are coming out, sure, but those feel like the 4 big fall releases this year. Mm-hmm. And I have moderate to tepid excitement about any particular one of them, and that feels very different. Like, there's normally at least one thing that I'm super excited about. And maybe, like, that was Fractured But Whole. Like, that was my thing that I was super excited about. And I think that that's okay. But I just haven't played that many games this year. This has been such a strong year for games. And I haven't been interested in most of them. It just feels really weird. And I remember we talked about this in, like, I think it was, like, our first or second episode. Just this, like, waning interest that I'm feeling in games in general that I certainly don't like.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of hoping that I can catch a Black Friday sale because we're going to be in town, and maybe hop over somewhere like a Best Buy on Friday and see if I can get something like Nier or Persona 5 for like $15, $20, where I can take a chance on that and hopefully find something else that I normally wouldn't get that I would enjoy. I know I went hard on Black Friday last year. I got 3 games. I'm trying to remember.
Well, Target usually has a like buy 2 get 1 deal on newer releases.
Yeah, and
Target
I think it was like that, but it was at Best Buy. I think it was like, buy 2 get 1 free, and I got Skyrim Special Edition, Titanfall 2, and I think Battlefield 1. I think I got those 3 games for like a total of $50 or something crazy, and all of those had just come out that fall, so it was a good deal.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just kind of where I am, like, looking ahead at the release schedule. I'm just like, and I'm looking at, like, I try to keep a tally of my quote unquote game of the year list, and I look at it, and I'm still playing through South Park, and I still need to play farther into Guardians of the Galaxy, Life is Strange, so those may get a lot better. I still need to try to go back to Tacoma, but at least to games that I have played, it's like Horizon Zero Dawn, Uncharted Lost Legacy, What Remains of Edith Finch I enjoyed, but beyond that, it's like there's nothing else big that I really loved.
Right.
I played a lot of games this year, or at least a couple, that were bad. Like, I played, Mass Effect Andromeda sucked.
Yeah, that was a bummer.
Destiny 2 is not a bad game, but it's certainly not great. So it's just, I don't know. Yooka-Laylee was a huge disappointment to me.
That's right.
So I don't know.
It's
been a weird year for games and me, because I'm playing fewer games, and normally I only play games that I will like. Like, I'm pretty smart about knowing what games I'm going to enjoy. I rarely play a game where I'm like, oh, I wasted money on that.
Yeah.
And that's happened more this year. So it's like I'm playing less games and enjoying fewer of the games I am playing. It's weird. It's been a weird year. So that's kind of what we've been playing, watching, a little bit what we've been reading too this time.
Now that we're an hour and a half in.
Well, yeah. Shut up. Shh. Quiet. Don't tell them.
God.
Don't let them know how long our podcast is getting. So we just have a couple of quick news hits, because the big news ties into Hate of the Week, so we're going to save that. But some new trailers, like nothing really big to talk about in particular. There's a new Black Panther trailer. That movie still looks fucking amazing.
Yeah, it looks fun.
I love especially how, like, it is this big blockbuster action movie where almost every character is African American, or I should say Wakandan. They're not actually African American,
yes,
but
they are African.
You know what I'm trying to say. And I saw yes, I guess Wakanda's in Africa. I mean, it's a made-up country in Africa, but yeah. But I saw an amazing meme last week about the new Black Panther trailer, because on it, it's all the characters, and also in this movie, Martin Freeman, who played Bilbo in the Hobbit movies, is in this, and Andy Serkis, who played Gollum and a handful of other, motion capture characters in Lord of the Rings, is in this. And they're the only 2 white characters in this movie.
Both from Lord of the
Rings. At
Rings.
least on the poster. They're both from Lord of the Rings. And so, like, on this poster, it's like 9 different black actors, men and women, and then Martin Freeman and Andy Serkis. And it was like, somebody made a comment of like, how cool is it in this poster where the white guys are the minority?
Yeah.
And someone commented and said, oh yeah, they're the 2 Tolkien white guys. But Tolkien, like J.R.R. Tolkien.
That's good.
I had a good
laugh.
like that. I enjoyed that.
Internet's okay sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes the internet comes up big. But there also new trailer for The Punisher, which we talked about the first trailer and how I was a little bit about
this
it.
one,
this trailer appealed to me more for sure.
It
was more about the story.
I was watching it and thinking of you, and like it's literally the opposite end of the spectrum
Yes.
from the first trailer. So
It was more just of the like an action drama versus it being like a more over the top cheesy editing,
Sure.
which I thought was good. And they also announced a release date of November 17th, so that's coming up soon. I'm
we'll
excited
have to
watch
start
that.
it while you're here.
Oh yeah,
We can do that.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right. And finally, in trailer news, and this I didn't know this movie was happening, but there is a New Mutants movie.
Yeah.
Coming out from Fox, who obviously owns the X-Men large franchise, and they're making a New Mutants movie, which comes out in April 13th, day after my birthday, and it's like a horror movie.
Yeah, it is.
It looks real. I don't. It's hard for me to say if it looks good. Like, it looks like a horror movie. It looks like an American horror movie, which to me is not super appealing. But like the fact that it's X-Men and it's in this genre, or I should say, it's in this cinematic genre of horror films, but with the superhero angle, it's a really cool thing that we haven't really seen before.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for that aspect of it, and really took me by surprise.
And I hope it performs well, because that would encourage them to experiment more with cross-genre superhero stuff.
Yeah. Similarly to how Deadpool has really revitalized the desire for like an R-rated.
Right.
Because, Watchmen came out, and it was this big budget R-rated superhero movie that tanked because Zack Snyder's a fucking terrible director. Yes. But then they come and make Deadpool, an R-rated, comedy action movie with a superhero, and it was amazing and performed really well. So hopefully it encourages more of that. I'm totally with you. Like, there are a lot of different comic book franchises that could transition really well to being a straight up horror movie.
Yeah.
I do want to watch Death Note, which is on Netflix. It's based on the manga series, which is more of a horror vibe because of the concept. But anyway, I thought it was a really cool trailer. Recommend checking that out. Maisie Williams, who plays Arya from Lord of the Rings, from Game of Thrones, is in this. I don't think she even has a single line in the trailer, so she might not be that big of a character. Yeah, I think it's more of like a she has face recognition. So yeah, exactly.
Watch the movie.
But it does look cool. I recommend checking out the trailer. I was pretty pleasantly surprised when I saw that. Kyle, you tell me about this next one, because you're the one that found this little gem of a story.
So, this is probably like 6 or 7 months ago, they announced that they were in writing or in the works of making a Detective Pikachu film, which is literally just Pikachu with a Sherlock Holmes hat. And people had maybe one of my favorite things to come out of the internet was someone saying like, "Hey, wouldn't it be great if Danny DeVito voiced Pikachu in the Detective Pikachu film?"
I watched the fake trailer for
where
that,
they take
where
lines
it's a bunch of Danny DeVito clips from It's Always Sunny.
Yeah. Oh man, that's a really good cut of that.
So let me ask you, like, was Detective Pikachu a thing, or was that invented specifically for this movie?
I think it's totally made up. I think it might be a manga somewhere. I don't know. I have zero idea, but it's some weird Pokemon spinoff thing because people love Pikachu. Now there's a rumor. It comes from some dude's YouTube channel. He doesn't credit his sources, so who the fuck knows? But there's a rumor that it's like Hugh Jackman and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, highest paid actor in Hollywood. And let's see who else. Zach Galifianakis,
which is insane, by the way. You know who was the highest paid actor a couple of years ago? Tom Hanks. You know who was the highest paid actor after that? Will Smith. And now Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, former WWE wrestler, is the top paid actor in Hollywood.
Tooth Fairy, man. That's where he made it big. But so there's rumors that they're considering creative talent for voice work, and because also it's like a CG Pikachu in a real world, sort of like similar like the Garfield movie and stuff like that. So
or like
some
Ted,
yes,
Seth MacFarlane.
Yes, some names have been thrown around: Hugh Jackman, Dwayne Johnson, Zach Galifianakis, and Mark Wahlberg as people they're considering
because they all fit in the same type.
Yeah,
they're all the same type.
Well, yeah. Well, no, just in terms of like people that would be in the movie. So like
I know.
They're looking to go real big with this Detective Pikachu film in terms of the supporting cast.
I'm thinking they should all be in consideration for the voice of Detective Pikachu.
Yeah.
Like, I can just imagine those kind of producer discussions of like, I would love to have Dwayne Johnson in this movie. He He doesn't always pick great stuff, but he's as about as bankable as you can get. But he's just so damn expensive nowadays. Like who's a Dwayne Johnson type that we can get? And producer number 2 is like, what about Jason Momoa? He's coming off of Justice League. He's coming off of Aquaman. You can get him a lot cheaper. He's a similar type. Like it feels a little obvious.
I'm
like
feeling more Zach Galifianakis.
Yeah, Zach Galifianakis.
Between Two Ferns, one of my favorite works.
Yeah. So that's weird as hell, but fun.
Just a fun story if it's true. Even if it's not true, it's still a fun thought to have.
I will say as an aside, Legendary Pictures are the ones that own the rights to this. They don't do a ton of great stuff. So a little bit worried about that in the fact that it's Detective Pikachu.
but also know what you're gonna get.
Yeah, that's fair. They certainly take chances.
Yeah.
Hey, they were behind the Hellboy movies.
That's true.
So finally, before we jump into some bigger news, little thing, Ron Howard has announced the title for the Han Solo Star Wars movie, and it's called Solo. Shocker.
Solo, a Star Wars story.
Sure. Yeah. Fair. Fine. Yes.
Yep.
That makes sense.
Yep.
I'm not like, oh, it's such a cool name because it's obvious. I mean, it's not a bad name certainly, but
people will know what it is.
A little bit of like an underwhelming announcement because he shot a little video and was like, hey, and revealed it, and I was like, oh, cool, and then it's called Solo. Like, I don't know. It was a weird thing to like announce and make a big deal out of, but whatever. But I did want to use this as an excuse. I forgot like how this movie's gone through a little bit of a rough patch with writer leaving. A lot of stuff's changed. Some people left for creative differences. I'm a little worried about it, but the cast of this movie is really fucking strong. And so I was doing a little bit of like just a research on the movie and see what other details we know for this podcast, and I came across something a little crazy. It's a pretty fun fan theory that I don't think is true, but it's fun. So, just to kind of give a high-level view, so playing Han Solo is Alden Ehrenreich, I think, or Ehrenreich, I think that's how you pronounce his name. He was in Hail Caesar, Coen Brothers movie.
That's right.
He was really good in that. That's the only thing I've seen him in. I didn't really care for the movie, but I did like him in it. Anyway, of course, Donald Glover is playing young Lando Calrissian. And also in this movie, Emilia Clarke, Daenerys from Game of Thrones. Woody Harrelson is in this movie. He plays a character named Beckett, who is Han Solo's mentor. Paul Bettany is in it. Thandie Newton is in it. Warwick Davis is in it, because of course Warwick Davis is in it. But specifically, this theory is in relation to Emilia Clarke's character, which the name we know of the character right now is Kira or Kyra, Kira. I don't think that's been totally confirmed, but that's what everybody's saying her character's name is. So here, let me put on my tinfoil hat for a second.
Okay.
Little known fact, before Force Awakens was shot, Rey, her original name was Kira. And this movie takes place during the original trilogy. Han Solo is the right age to be Rey's father. Not saying he is, but that would make Emilia Clarke's character the right age to be Rey's mother. Her character's name is the name that Rey was originally going to be named. There's an easy connection you can make for Alden Ehrenreich. I can't say his name. I'm just going to call him Han. I'm sorry, dude. I can't pronounce your name. No offense to you at all. My name's Shea. I get mispronounced all the time. Han Solo's character and Emilia Clarke's character being potential love interests. Is it possible that Rey is the daughter of Han, but not of Leia?
I hope not.
I do too, but I did think it was a fun theory.
Yeah.
I really, really hope that isn't the case. I hate how in Star Wars everyone's related to everyone.
It's such a soap
I've always thought that was really lame. Yeah. So I'm totally with you. I hope that's not the case, but I did think it was a fun little bit of trivia. It's more than likely just a coincidence where they liked that name, decided to change it for Rey's character, and wanted to use it for another character.
Yeah.
I'm sure that is the reasoning. But if that theory is right, I came up with it and I should get all the credit.
Make the money off it.
And so thinking about Star Wars and thinking about the upcoming video game releases got me thinking about upcoming movie releases and how there are a shit ton of movies coming out that I'm really freaking excited for. Because obviously Black Panther's not coming out till next year. New Mutants isn't coming out till next year. But not even just superhero stuff. Later this month, October 27th, Suburbicon, starring Matt Damon, directed by George Clooney, written by George Clooney and the Coen brothers. This movie looks very twisted and dark and amazing. If you haven't seen the trailer for Suburbicon, go watch it. I love Matt Damon to death. Then on November 3rd, we get Thor Ragnarok, which I think looks really rad.
Yeah, it does.
And I use the word rad for a reason. That movie looks rad.
Yeah, that's the only word you can use.
And then on November 17th, the Justice League movie comes out. So it'll be a movie. And then on November 22nd, Murder on the Orient Express, directed by Kenneth Branagh, starring Kenneth Branagh, Johnny Depp, Daisy Ridley, Josh Gad, Willem Dafoe. Hard-hitting movie. That movie looks freaking fantastic as well.
Yes, it does.
It's a remake of a really old classic. And Kenneth Branagh has the best accent and the best mustache I've ever seen on film in that movie. So I'm very excited for it. And then, of course, on December 15th, we get Star Wars The Last Jedi. Right. So, like, we make fun of Justice League. I'm going to go see it because I have to. Like, I'm not going to not go see it. I'm going to hate myself for it. I'm not going to enjoy it. I don't imagine that I will. I hope I'm wrong. But that's 6 huge movies, at least for me, that I'm really, really, at least anticipating. I'm not really, really excited to see all of them, because I'm not really excited to see Justice League. But there are 5 movies I'm really excited to see, and Justice League, which I will see. So that makes me feel a little bit better about stuff that's coming out. Because, like, I'm kind of down on the upcoming video games, but upcoming movies, I can dig it.
Yeah.
And I mean, there are still a bunch of other movies that have come out this year already and that will continue to come out that I do want to see as well. But those are the ones that kind of jumped out that, to me, are worth spending $20 to go see with my wife on opening weekend. So, 2 final large news stories, but these tie in directly to Hate of the Week. So let's go ahead and jump into that. Hate of the Week. So, today's Hate of the Week is kind of, and this is very broad, but it's kind of just about the direction of the gaming industry as a whole. So this comes out of 2 recent news stories, one of which is a huge bummer, the other of which is kind of sinister and scary.
Yeah.
So the first one is EA has shut down their Visceral studio. You probably know Visceral as the studio behind the Dead Space games. 2 really good ones and 1 really bad one.
Hey, 2 really good horror games and 1 fun co-op adventure.
Dead Space 3 was hot garbage. It was really fun for us to play together, which if you want, you can watch that series on Kyle's YouTube channel, The Drum Kid 92. It was really fun to play together, but that was a bad video game. And the second one wasn't even a great horror game, but it was a fun, action-y horror game. Anyway, the first game, Dead Space, and is for somebody that hates horror as much as I hate horror, I consider that to be one of my favorite games of all time. Like, that is like a top 20 game of all time for me. That game is phenomenal. But Visceral recently has been working with several other studios on a Star Wars game written by Amy Hennig, who was the writer of the Uncharted series before Uncharted 4. And this was going to be a single-player experience. I mean, the whole pitch of it was it's Uncharted but Star Wars. Influenced, obviously, by Star Wars 1313 before that game was canceled when LucasArts kind of shut down. I was incredibly hyped for that game.
Me too.
They showed some little tech demo stuff. It looked really cool. And it's now, I mean, essentially no longer exists. Their reasoning behind this is they wanted to change the direction of the game and renew EA's focus on creating the quote-unquote games as a service, meaning games that aren't a single $60 release, but things that are supported with post-game content, both paid and free, as well as, microtransactions, multiplayer components, that kind of thing. Games as a service, meaning like, they're not going to release Star Wars and then in 2 years Star Wars 2 and then 2 years later Star Wars 3. They would release Star Wars and that would continue to be a game until the sequel. There'd be new content for it released regularly. I cannot blame them for the business strategy of this. Making video games is more expensive than it ever has been, and yet the cost of video games has actually gone down since the original days where you would buy $80 NES carts. And that's not even factored for inflation, much less expanding teams, increased budgets, more risk involved in the industry in general because there's more competition. A lot of other business factors that make making video games very risky and very expensive. So I totally understand them finding other ways of making money, which, started out with DLC. And now, they had the season passes. EA for a while had those paid multiplayer components that you had to buy. I know Dead Space 2, I think, had that in it, which was fucking ridiculous to kind of cramped or close down on used game sales, that kind of thing. And the biggest thing recently in the past several years has been microtransactions. So, we talked about it earlier, but stuff like loot boxes. I think that this is a very bad trend for video games. Not even for me in the way that I play games, but just for the industry in general. It feels very manipulative, and the randomization of it feels unfair, and it feels, close to gambling, where you're spending money you don't know what you're going to get, as well as changing the way that games are designed. Because before, you have a single-player experience for $60. They make the game, it is $60, they put it in your hands, it's done. That's the complete experience. Nowadays, that's not enough. They need to release DLC. They need you to buy microtransactions. So they're designing the game in a way to encourage you to buy more shit. So very rarely, it's not even just that you can buy Battlefield 1 and continue to play that and not buy the DLC, and you can continue to play those original Battlefield 1 maps and guns, etc. But with the microtransactions, you get additional add-ons and things that make you play better and level up faster, where if you aren't spending real money on those, other people are, and therefore they have an advantage over you when you're playing. Thus, the whole moniker of pay to win. It's not free to play, it's pay to win. Yeah, I can play the game for free, but I'm not going to be as good inherently as the people who are paying because they have more and better shit. And that's not fair. That's not a fun experience. So that's one thing in free-to-play games. But in this, where I'm already paying $60 for a game, now I need to pay more than $60 for a game to compete with other people. That's a very slippery slope that is very dangerous. And I think that the retort is, okay, well, you say making games is more risky and more expensive than it ever has been, but prices haven't gone up. So what's the solution? Raise the price of video games. Make them $80. Make them $90. I don't care. Just give me a complete package when I buy the game. Don't force me or, hamper me if I'm not giving you extra money. That's my take. Where do you stand on this?
I agree. I like locking content behind, like, it's. All right, there are a couple different viewpoints on it, but personally, I would rather pay $70 or $80 for a game and just have everything single purchased, everything's unlocked, complete experience. Now, I understand not everyone can, justify the extra $15-20 per game, so they are okay with the stripped down version. But I feel like that happens less and less. Like, there are very few people who are just buying the $60 game and none of the DLC stuff and like walk away with it like, yeah, okay, cool, whatever. I feel like there are not very many people that do that. I feel like most people are already spending the $60 and then just still buying the DLC and season passes and stuff. Like, I feel like it's, I don't know, maybe there's some marketing strategy or some marketing data that shows that if they charge $60 for a game and $30 for a season pass, they're more likely to get that $90 than if they just make the game $90. Maybe there's data that supports that, But for me personally, I would rather the convenience and simplicity of single purchase, single package. Like that makes the most sense to me as a consumer, and I would feel the best about that, conceptually speaking. I don't know if the data supports that.
You know, I don't have a problem with DLC as long as it isn't something that feels like it was taken out of the original release to then be sold on later. Stuff like, I know when Mass Effect 3 came out, there was the Four Ashes DLC, which was day one DLC of this additional character, this Prothean character that felt incredibly vital to getting the full Mass Effect 3 experience that you had to pay extra money for. Where like you really felt like you were missing out on something by not having it. That goes against DLC to me. DLC should be an additive experience, not something that is required to get what you want out of a game. And also, I feel like DLC is treated, or at least in my mind, is very different than microtransactions, because I look at DLC, you know, it can be weapon packs or whatever, but I'm thinking more of like additional content.
Yes.
So if it's a map pack, if it is a new storyline for Uncharted 4, whatever, that kind of thing is also a complete experience that is sold separately. It's not piecemeal things that I have to keep getting, that's randomized, that I have a disadvantage for not having compared to someone that does have it. That's the shitty microtransaction method that I'm talking about. On that same topic, second news story, recently came out that Activision had filed a patent for a way to matchmake to encourage people to purchase microtransactions. And that sounds a little weird, but the gist of it is, and I'm going to read from the patent. For example, if the player purchased a particular weapon, the microtransaction engine may match that player in a gameplay session in which the particular weapon is highly effective, giving the player an impression that that particular weapon was a good purchase. This may encourage the player to make future purchases to achieve similar gameplay results. So in that specific case, it's not punishing the person for not buying something. It's more like giving them an additional reward for having purchased it to make them feel good about purchasing it, so they'll continue to purchase it. That's a little less sinister than what it might originally feel, and not that they couldn't use it with sinister means of like, hey, let's match this team of people who haven't spent a dime against this team of people who have all spent $100, and the $100 people can completely stop them to make the people who haven't spent any money feel like they have to keep up. That's certainly a way that they could go about this. It is worth clarifying that Activision has come out and said they are not using this system. It was purely a speculative patent, which is very common. Yeah. Like, if someone has an idea for something, they want to put a patent on it so someone else can't try to steal that idea. Kind of protects them from a future sense if they want to use it in some other way. So it's not something of like boycott all Activision games because they're doing this and manipulating us, but they're clearly thinking about it. At
Someone
least,
is.
like, even if they're not doing it, it's going through their thought process.
Yeah,
so,
but you know, like Activision is
that's scary.
This insane like force of nature in games development. So of course they have an inventive marketing team that's going to try to, that their job is to squeeze every dollar out of us that they possibly can. So naturally some of this kind of insidious and invasive stuff is going to come about, and I'm just glad that patents are available for public purview so that this is not going on behind closed doors. We know this is potentially a thing that they could be doing, and they have released a public statement saying they are not. So at least we can be grateful for the fact that this type of stuff is public so that we know about it and can be informed consumers and players.
For me, like, in addition to all the grievances I just aired as more of like a direction for the industry and how I feel like that it's unhealthy and unfair to consumers, even just selfishly, like, I don't want everything to be multiplayer. I don't want everything to have DLC and microtransactions. Like, I want a significant amount of my gaming experiences to be where I can sit down on my couch by myself and play something. And that was the biggest thing that bummed me out about this visceral shutdown, in addition to a lot of talented people losing their jobs. But, like, selfishly, not only because it was a Star Wars game, but because it was a single-player narrative game. Those are the types of games that I want to play.
Like, we have our multiplayer Star Wars games.
Shooters.
We have those already in spades. We are getting more of them as we speak.
Yes. And, like, everything is already being influenced by this shared experience, this game as a service kind of mentality, where you get something like Anthem coming out from EA, which looks cool. For, BioWare's making it. It looks cool. The trailer we saw at E3, like, the game looks interesting, but I don't want every game to be Destiny or a twist on Destiny.
Right.
I want Uncharted experiences still. Like, I want Ratchet and Clank games. I want Witcher 3 games. And so I'm very thankful for the studios that are sticking to that. Places like Bethesda and Naughty Dog, like, those are the kinds of games that they thrive in and they work on. Even like Nintendo, they make plenty of multiplayer games too, but they're never going to stop making Marios and Zeldas that fulfill that need, which is a little bit of hope. But, like, the farther the industry at large, and especially these huge publishers like EA, Activision, Ubisoft, those are the three biggest publishers, third-party publishers that there are, and all three of them are taking this as their focus because that's where the fucking money is, and so that's where they're going to go, and that is not where I want the industry to go.
Yeah, me neither.
Selfishly. I know there are a lot of people that enjoy those types of things, but we've talked about this before. Like, it creates this homogenous feel to video games, and so much of the personality and the uniqueness is gone because everything is so heavily influenced by everything else. It's everything's just iterative. Nothing feels new or fresh. And as much as I love indie games, they don't scratch that AAA itch, that big budget itch. Inherently, they can't. And I want that itch to be scratched by single player experiences. So, sigh.
Yep.
That's where I am on this.
Hate of the week.
Indeed, hate of the week. Good segue, because I want to try something a little new. And I getting a little bit more, what's the word? Introspective last episode about myself and kind of where I am in my life and how I look at things. I created this as like a fun outlet for this criticism, this like negativity that I have, and I want to put a fun spin on it. But it feels too negative. You know what I mean? Like, obviously it's the Shea Hates Everything podcast, a product of SheaHatesEverything.com.
Yeah.
I'm not changing that. I still want to do the Today I Hate. I still want to do the Hate of the Week. Like, that's fun because we talk about important topics like we just discussed and give real insight. But we can also talk about bullshit stuff and complain about stupid movies. Like, I love that. But I feel like coming out of recording every day, or every day that we record, I feel a little like down because it finishes on the Hate of the Week where I'm just like, ugh, this thing that pisses me off. And I feel like cathartic that I was able to get it out to the literally 6 people that listen.
Hey, man, we had like
but
the mid-20s downloads on the last episode.
But it's still, I don't know, it still feels like down. So I want to try something a little new, and it's cheesy, and so we might iterate on this a little bit. But I want to end every podcast with a little bit of love. So we start every episode with Today I Hate, and we're going to end the episode with Today I Love. So today, I love watching the sunrise over the ocean with my wife. That's what I love. What about you, Kyle? What do you love today?
Do I have to?
Yes, you do. Because it's my fucking name on the podcast. So you do what I say. Damn it, you made me be negative. You ruined the mood.
It's the Shea Hates Most Things podcast. So, okay. Let me get on my... Let's get ASMR in this. My name is Kyle. I'm not going to do that. My name is Kyle. Today I love how dedicated my theater kids are. Because today, during school, they have a really busy week. I know they have full class loads. They have a mentor period every day, which is after second period, before third period, where they can get homework done and like go to important group meetings and stuff. And today, most of my cast came into the theater and ran lines because they need to be off book next week. So they took time out of their really busy and packed school schedules today Some of them were like just coming back from a field trip, so I know they have work they need to be doing. But they went into the theater and ran some lines, and obviously goofed around a lot, but ran lines, and that made me feel good as a director.
Yeah. And doesn't it feel good to say that out loud?
Felt better experiencing it, but saying it's fine.
Fine, yes. But I mean, like, just ending on a note of positivity. Because I'm, like, you know, when I'm thinking about mine, it takes me back to the day that I left. Kelly and I woke up early. We sat out on our little patio and, like, watched the sunrise over the ocean on the beach. Like, it was incredible. It was freezing cold outside, but it was like, I'm certainly not a sentimental person whatsoever. My wife will tell you that. But it was like one of those moments where I'm like, I'm going to remember this for a really long time, if not forever, this moment right here. And like that, I feel like that's something that's worth sharing, even if it's to 20 people that download and maybe not even listen.
Hey, thanks for sharing.
Oh no. So yeah, we're gonna try this out. It probably won't be as cheesy in the future. Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe it's fun. But that is going to do it for today. So thank you, everybody, for listening. Kyle, as always, thank you for joining me. And if you have any thoughts, opinions about what we talked about, any questions for us, you can send them to info@SheaHatesEverything.com, or you can check out our Facebook page /Shea Hates Everything and leave a comment, shoot me a message there, and we will see you in the next episode. Peace out.